up, guys? It's Thursday, which can only mean one thing. It's time for Thursday Thoughts. I will say, as we are wrapping up January this weekend and headed into February, this little 1 month free trial into 2025 has just been interesting to say the least, but hopefully February, the month of love, is going to be even more amazing and better. So I'll be right back. Let me just start off by saying that 2025 has had a great yet interesting kind of vibe to it. Great as far as for me personally, just because I brought in the new year, how I always do, with church. And then we had 2 parties actually on New Year's Day with a biological family that we love. And then we also had church later that night on New Year's Day because it was a Wednesday. So we had a party at church too. And then it was followed by a weekend road trip to go see extended biological family out of town. So the first week of 2025 was all about family and starting the new year together. And it was really good. But on the other hand, when you think about how 2025 started in the country as a whole, a lot of things were going on. Right now, I just want to simply take time to focus on the personal aspect of life and how it's been. I am so thankful to God because where I was a year ago, where I was in January 2024 is completely different from how I am now ending, January 2025. The goal of a new year is always to be, in a much better position than you were last year. This time last year, I almost made a decision and committed myself to something that would have been very straining to my life. I don't think I would have tapped into what 2024 had for me in the extent that I did had I been consumed with what I would have gotten myself into. In the moment, we can see something that looks good on the outside, but as we look on the inside and we study it and go into full depth of what it really means, it doesn't always look the same anymore when you look at it from that perspective. And now we see the reality of what's really going on. Even shifting here, I just am simply thankful for the gift of discernment given by God and being able to know my place before it was too late, before I got caught in the trap. Not everybody has discernment to be able to know how far to go, what to say, how much to say, all the things. I can really say discernment is a saving grace in your life if you allow it to be. It is the key that unlocks things to us that can be hidden to others. And there's a lot of people that get themselves into situations and it's too late to turn around and they have to suffer the consequences of what they chose for themselves. And this is why discernment is so important, because it helps us to know what we are getting into before we fully get into it. Now, spiritually, discernment is God's way of giving us grace and giving us a sneak peek so that we potentially don't destroy ourselves. I'll tell you what, discernment will disconnect you from destruction. It really will. So when things start tumbling down in other people's lives that you were once a part of and connected to, it doesn't affect you now because you got out just in time before you hit the ground with them. And of course, having discernment doesn't mean that God will give you the full-blown, complete layout of everything that is going to happen most of the time. But He will show you just enough so that when you navigate, whatever it may be, you can handle the challenge with grace. And this is why I love life with God, because the gift of discernment is such a good gift that God gives. I mean, discernment is such a spiritual thing. I say to myself, y'all know me, I mind my business, I do people good. And a lot of times when I figure out things, it is mainly based on discernment. And a lot of times when it comes to discernment, You don't have to go search for the tea or the info from anybody, because God is already going to put it in your mind to know what's going on. And this is why when it comes to warfare, we have to hear what God is saying through his word, through prayer, worship, devotion. One of my favorite preachers ever, Pastor Joel Tubman, said this in, honestly, one of my favorite sermons he's ever preached, that I was actually in his church hearing him preach this message. He said, it is difficult to whoop an enemy in the spirit when you're never in it. That's good stuff, because you'll never be prepared to fight demons if you plan on killing them with a knife instead of on your knees. I kid y'all not, if I was in the position from the standpoint in the outcome of what I would have gotten into, I know for sure that I wouldn't be nearly as happy, content, at peace, and just joyful as I am now a year later. In the moment, I really was not thinking. I believed, and was also somewhat gaslit to believe, that what was good to me was also good for me. But I think back about how that decision would have affected all of the other parts of my life, because of course I'm me. I'm always gonna be me, because nobody can be me besides me. But I'm a daughter. I'm also a goddaughter, a granddaughter, a sister, god sister, niece, cousin, auntie, student, and so many other hats that I wear in my life. And I had to start realizing, like, how does this affect all the other parts of my life? Like, it was literally distracting me from everything that I was doing, and I wasn't fully present as I could have been. And so I love my life. I love where I'm headed. I am genuinely happy where I'm at personally. It is a good time right now. One thing you guys know about me, I will always share my progress, my journey, my experiences, and this is one of them. And if you go back to my 2024 recap that I did on New Year's Eve last year, I did talk about this. And so if you go back to the part where I talked about January, mid-January to mid-February, this is what I'm talking about. And I am just so grateful to God for a transformative redemption and reconstruction and revitalization that has fostered such an amazing 2024 leading into 2025. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to share my gratitude today. I love you guys so much, and I hope y'all have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you in February.